to DM's Book Club, a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons & Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. And, well, we're in person.
We are in person, and we're in basically what I would say is...
my lair.
Yeah, your lair. That's what I was looking for.
Effects,
It's definitely Fiona's lair, where you can find her at all times hiding in the corner with a bunch of burger-like flumps.
Yes, burger-like flumps. There's at least, let's say, more than 4, but less than 6 of them.
Yeah. And they come with all the toppings?
All the way.
All the way toppings.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are the layer effects in this place?
The layer effects of this place are...
I've got one that's possibly kind of dark, but anaphylactic shock.
I mean, it is fair.
Because there's a lot of peanut.
There's a lot of peanuts around.
So there's a lot of
There's a regional effect. I think you leave said layer a lot less, a lot poorer than you went in.
Yeah, that's very true. And maybe slightly less healthy.
Yeah, it might be less healthy as well.
Possibly by the fact that there's unlimited drinks.
Unlimited, you will never thirst.
Yeah, you cannot be conditioned. No condition of thirst can be put upon you in this place.
Exactly.
Yeah, even with the amount of salt in those chips.
Oh gosh, yeah. But how are you, Hamilton? Because you kind of suggested this last minute.
I did, yeah. Well, it's because I was told last minute I was going to London, and I thought, well, Fiona is on her travels soon.
Yeah.
Leaving the country. And when I came to London next, I was like, well, I have to catch up. And then it happened to be literally the day after we usually do our recording, I got the message at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Silly time the night before, come to London. So I was like, well, Fiona, why don't we sack off our recording for Tuesday night and do it Wednesday night in Five Guys.
And I went, absolutely, I'm already hungry.
Yes, exactly. I'm already planning what I'm eating.
It's my same order, my usual.
Yeah, Fiona was like, I came to order, and she was like, oh, you go first, because I was like, you go first, because I don't know what I have. It's like, how do you not know what you wanted 16 hours ago?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a creature of habits.
That's fair. So if you do want to track Fiona, it's very easy to find them.
Yes, exactly.
From a D&D point of view.
We did recently our Fiend Folio as well. So obviously, numbers is 1 for Fiona. Encounters are rare, but the lair is at least 90%.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. 10% of the time has to go out to do life.
Oh, yeah. I guess. Yeah. On the material plane.
Follow the red and white check.
Yeah. The yellow, the red and white brick road.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah. So we kind of just a bit of a chitty chat, really.
Yes.
You came up with a list.
I came up with a list of topics this afternoon when I wanted a nap.
Hamilton was on it. And Fiona was not on it at all.
It's fine. You were busy. I was.
Well, sort of. Busy working.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Hopefully, when I say working, you can hear me doing bunny ears.
Yeah, you can hear the bunny ears. Yeah, it's okay. Definitely. Yeah. So I had a few topics, and we're gonna choose out of the. I'll give you the titles that we had, the leftovers.
Yeah, but ones we made you at another point.
Yeah, exactly. Hindsight is a nat 20. Things we wish we'd done in a game. House rules, favourite house rules of D&D, but we did feel like neither of us had that many, or they weren't that exciting.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm sure I can think of some, but it's not, like, my only one I could really think of off the top of my head is like, it takes me 30 seconds to look up something. If I can't find it, I just make a judgment, and that's not really a house rule, that's just a Fiona thing.
The other one, and then the one that we're not going to do was the Adventure of Five Guys. We were going to
one day.
We've sort of given some lore to it for that anyway.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing today great artists steal systems from other games we use or want to use.
I'm excited because we talk about RPGs all the time.
Yeah.
And we love them. We love running them. Like, you're going to run Warhammer for us at some point. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Yeah.
I read through loads of RPGs. Quite a few.
All of them.
Not all of them. But so I guess going off, is there any RPG system or anything that you want to bring in just now? Because you're not running any D&D games currently yourself, but you're always tinkering away, always making new stuff. So has any caught your eye?
Any that caught my eye? I think the thing that I like and something I want to try and achieve is, I was thinking about the other day, was the rolling under of your value from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So
Yeah.
I like the D100 system.
Yes.
And I like the way that it works in that you get better, so your number gets better, so you just have to roll under, which means it's easier to roll under, rather than the modifier way, which the better you get given a modifier that then adds to your roll. It's just a convoluted. It requires a second bit of judgment, and it's also manipulated slightly. Whilst I like the very tangible increase of if I've got 57, I need to roll under 57, and every single step increase I make is an easy percentage better, rather than I'm on 18, which means a +3, right, or a +4, which means you've got to think, and it's and that's doesn't necessarily actually add as much to what you're doing, So I kind of like it as a, the whole passive perception stuff.
Yes.
Because the AC works that way of you have to roll to get over the AC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought, for passive checks, that I would just do the roll under thing. You have to roll under what you have to succeed.
Yes.
Sort of thing is a kind of a nice way to do it, maybe for those things which are a little bit more natural, do you know what I mean, in D&D. So that was just one thing that I had off the top of my head.
Yeah, because that's obviously a Warhammer thing, as Warhammer Fantasy. So I keep saying just Warhammer in general. I know that's more than one Warhammers. Call of Cthulhu, the same thing as well.
Is that right?
And I like the idea that with certainly, and you'll tell me if this happens in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, with Call of Cthulhu, if you use one of the skills and you succeed, you put a check mark next to it, and then you have the chance later on to upgrade it. But it gets harder to upgrade with already good skills, because you're already very good at it. So it's almost, and I quite like that as an idea that you're already good at it. You're not going to become any better.
100%.
It's going to take ages for you to master it completely because you're already so good at it.
Yeah, making a step as a runner, for example, to get from 30 minutes 5k to 20 minutes 5k. Well, 30 to 25 is a lot easier than 25 to 20, and then 20 to 15 is ridiculous. So I do agree with that, and they do that with the XP thing, but because D&D is so very much milestone based nowadays, I think, because that's the way I play it, and it's because the way the adventures are worked a lot of the time, the published adventures are definitely here's the time when you should be leveling up, or this is when you need to be at this level, that it doesn't necessarily feel you've harder. It's just well, we're getting to that point in the story, we've done something big, we should get a boost, you know what I mean? I don't know how it was with your longer campaign actually in that regard. Did you find that the leveling up was consistently timed, or did it get longer?
I think so. I say this now as a GM and running a long-term campaign and using story milestones, but my god, players always ask for levels. As soon as they're doing something quite hard, they're like, level, and I'm
I was like that in BG3 yesterday. I was I want to level up.
I want to level now. And I'm like, no, more plot is required. I think we were quite spread out. We knew, but our story beats were very clear.
Yeah.
We knew that, we had to do these 3 things, and then at the end of it, plot twist, those 3 things were very bad, and then going through all that thing and trying to work out how to go from there. I think if it's, I guess not the word is, it's not sandboxy obviously, but it's more structured, and if you can see what the beats are, it's a little bit easier on that front. So I never felt like I was being done out of the level, or anything I found really hard. Usually was down to bad rolling, or me not remembering anything on my character sheet. Rather than there'd be stuff where I'm like, I think I'm hopefully a better player now, where I can go, right, this is too difficult for us. The option is to leave. We've come in not prepared. We have to come back for it, and that's happened a couple of times in that particular longer term campaign. And it was a very interesting. It made it for a much better story.
Oh, that's cool.
So quite like on that front.
Well, that's a good thing. I like the I think if you manage milestones really well, it's a really rewarding way of doing it, because it feels. It ups that moment, because the moment's probably been really cool that you've done.
It's the end of a chapter.
Or maybe even cool in a bad way, you've just been taken a step back, but because you've got through it, you kind of get a level up which helps you overcome it or something like that. I don't know, it's kind of cool. What about you? Anything you'd like to bring in?
Well, so I like other dice.
Yes.
Not just D20s. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at Daggerheart yet.
Oh, no.
Critical Role one. So I will say this, I've read it very briefly.
Okay.
It is 400 pages long, the playtest. Amazing. Again, they're doing this whole thing about it keeping it very open to feedback. which is quite nice to see that because I know that's what D&D's been doing, the one D&D stuff. So their main mechanic is D12s, 2 D12s,
right? Okay.
Different colours. One is called your Hope D12 or Hope die, and then one's called your Fear die.
Right.
And you roll them plus a modifier. So you roll them both plus a modifier and add them together and then go against a DC. So for example, say you got 8 on your Hope die, 7 on your Fear die, and then it's a +1. Usually it's like +1, +2. It's nothing too crazy for whatever the ability is. So that's what, say, 16, and the DC was 15. And so, you succeeded. And you look at on your dice, which one's the highest, and you go, you succeeded with Hope. And that tells you the success or failure, but with the sort of action about hope or failure. And I quite like that. We've got these ideas of tiered successes that we've got in Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah.
And the one I always think of is the Star Wars role-playing game with Fantasy Flight.
Fantasy Flight one,
and they where you roll it and it's all symbols.
Edge of the Galaxy, or is that?
Edge of the Galaxy.
Is that one? Or is it?
The Force, not Force Awakens, that's the Thatcher film, but the Destiny one.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones, and the Age of Rebellion.
Age of Rebellion, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and all those dice were obviously custom die, which had symbols on it. But I have succeeded and I got a triumph. So that means extra special.
Yes.
Or I've succeeded, but I've got 2 threats.
Yeah.
And the idea was that you would interpret the story through those results, which I absolutely love. As a result, as it got rid of the numbers aspect of it. Here, I quite liked it because you won't know what you get with your dice.
Yes.
And if the numbers match on the Hope and Fear dice, that is a critical success.
Oh, that's cool.
So I really like that.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's a really cool system. How would to bring it into D&D? Would you think you would add just another dice mechanic to it that helps do that?
I feel like because one thing I do love is stuff like Kids on Bike system also uses this idea that your stats are with dice value. So I don't know, your brawn is a D4 or D6, etc. And everything has an assigned dice value from all the polyhedrals.
Yeah.
And maybe you get a difficulty I need you to use your brawn. It's a 10.
Yeah.
I've got a D4. If you roll a 4, it explodes and you get to roll it again. It's that excitement of rolling
that's
more.
Cool, yeah.
So I think for me, I don't know is the answer. I just like using different dice systems. So maybe it'd be mini games, for example. I do, you know me, I like a good prop.
Yeah.
I've got the Free Dragon anti-game, which I've yet to even attempt to play, but I would love to play that in an actual game and actually get people to think beyond just looking
maybe
at the
like
text
a
sheet.
role-playing mechanic as well. It could be in some respects, how you I don't know, if you had maybe characters that were wanting to add some more depth to their role-playing but didn't know how to maybe approach that, it could be alright, how do you, you could do the Hope and Fear, maybe using that, but you could just maybe have it do you stay calm or aggressive or something like that? Do you know what I mean? Those sorts of mechanics. If you're
it's emotive.
And so if you're going into something where you're against someone that you're disagreeing with in a council or something like that, and you're trying to get them to, the dragon's coming, and they're like, no, it's not, it's bullshit, and you're and then you roll for your persuasion. But maybe it's you then, alright, you've rolled that, now roll me on another d20. If you match that, if you go under that, then it's fine. But if you beat that with this one, you go in that with an aggression, and that's going to have a different effect. You fall into, you don't do it with as much tact, you still get what you've done. Maybe if it's not if it's not a critical success, you can choose, but maybe if it's not critical, you could add that mechanic in to help deliver different roleplay outcomes or scenarios for people if they haven't got, because it's hard to think at the time of the improv skills to be I'm going to go, this is how my character would go in with it, would be no, I'm going to fight for this, or actually they come up with a calm solution for for how to convince them or something like that. I don't know, it could be
I think it's just because I think recently I've discovered my players in a Strahd campaign, obviously they built characters that do well in Strahd. They're not paladins, obviously that's the GT way.
Cheating.
But for example, I know one of them's really good at perception checks. So they will always scout ahead, and that's fine. But then they go, okay, we're going to investigate. Oh, well, you've got a good investigation thing, I will help you. And in my head, I'm like, why don't you do it? Why don't limit yourself to constantly helping And they've always rolled. I think because all of them have played Baldur's Gate, they're very used for rolling just for one tiny thing. So I had to stop the session recently because they were like, "Oh, I want to check around the statue." Was that an investigation check? And I was like, "Are you just going to look around the statue, or are you going to look around the whole room?"
Yeah.
Because the idea of these checks is like, this is 10 minutes of your time. That's what it sort of talks about. And it means you can't do it again. You've got 10 minutes to go. So I'll let you do it, but if you just look around the statue, you roll really high and I say there's nothing there, that's kind of a waste of a die roll.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Like,
Yeah.
I can
If there's something in the statue and you've determined that looks out of place, then I might give you you kind of see something off about it. Do you know what I mean? If that's not the thing, you'd be like, you find anything.
Because I've been improvising quite a bit of Customer, a little bit, not loads, but now obviously they're obviously searching, but it feels like they're using their character, but obviously they're maybe now limiting themselves because they all think of things, and then they'll turn to the player with the best thing, go, oh, you should do this, and in my head I'm like, you do it.
Yeah, just do it, yeah.
Like this is the thing, I know there's a chance of failure. Okay, but that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And I think, I wonder if Baldur's Gate has had a little bit of an influence on it. Because I know we joke about it, like, reload. I do think they're like, and they're in a scary place just now. They're in the Amber Temple. I don't know, the best thing that happened recently, I know we're going off topic completely, is that they found the Lich in the Amber Temple.
Oh, yeah.
But they found the phylactery first. And one of them rolled a natural 20 on it, and they were like, oh my god. And then
we've got a
problem. we've got a key, but we've got a problem because obviously what happened to it. And so they decided to pour holy water on it. And I looked it all up, and it's fine.
Pulling a face.
But then they meet this Lich, and the thing in the story of Customer, obviously minor spoilers, is that this Lich is so old it doesn't remember anything. And it was a very and is just treating everyone as it doesn't remember. And it was a wild end of the half an hour. I'm just improving a little bit. They were like, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, we can leave until next time, that's fine. But, it's not, it turns out all your answers aren't on your character sheets.
Yeah.
Like, they had a cool idea, and then there was a lot of talking about it, and then I introduced chaos. And so just to go back to what you were saying, like, for me, I kind of want to break away a little bit from constantly rolling stuff, or if we're rolling stuff, it's got to be something cool and interesting. So that's why I like the tiered success idea. I like the exploding dice stuff, because if you're always going to, I want to fight something, I'm really shit at fighting, but I'm like, no, but that's what you wanted to do.
Exactly,
And it's not like, I'm going to cast a spell and stuff like that. So I think it becomes from players who are just used to playing through a video game or playing through a story and are safe with what they create, because this is what their character, that's what they want to play. And I've got to that point now where I want to play something very unusual, and I don't mind failing as long as it's a cool story. Because failure, you always push the story forward. So,
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
One of the failing thing, that's one of the things that I wanted to add, I'd like to add from Morkborn, is the arcane catastrophe thing.
Yes!
I love those so much. And I think, you could take those and add that. It just, you affect it a little more to work with whatever system you're using, but in D&D as well. I think if you wanted to make a game a bit more grittier and make magic a harder thing to do, which I think is it can be overpowered, as we all know. But if you had that ability to just okay, if you make a critical fail on this roll, you're gonna get ruined by mucking with you're mucking with magic, so you don't know. And so because it's an optional rule in Morkborn, but if you fail, you just go. You go a bit dizzy for a round, and for an hour you can't cast anything else. I think is what it is. But if you use the arcane catastrophe when you do a critical fumble on it, then you might lose all your skin. Or you're paralyzed for 24 hours or something like that. It's kind of
it's
things like
bad.
that. And so, or you drop to 0 hit points immediately and stuff like that, and lots of other more fun and wild things. And I kind of like that if you wanted to play that more sword and sorcery, old school OSR style, grittier game of magic isn't so high and you can do all these things a bit way of fun way of doing it.
Well, I read through recently The Witcher Easy Mode, the quick start, and magic in that, it always takes me. So you have like a threshold every turn. So it's similar to spell slots. Like you use points, whatever, but you can go over it. It just means you will get damage. I think it's like 5 hit points for every one over the threshold.
Oh, right.
So you could spend, I don't know, 8 threshold points to do all these spells. That's 15 hit points of damage you take.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's because it makes me think of Yennefer, all that sort of thing that I've seen in the TV show. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like you can absolutely.
Great scene, by the way.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And I just was like, just the image of that going, I have an option.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. You know, and I think ultimately for me, it is just trying new things. So what's the other one I was thinking of? I guess I quite like with games like Quest and Shiver, where they have archetypes of classes, and then you can choose your sort of character path or ability paths and really customize it. So you could play the same, I don't know, Doctor in Quest. Shiver is a horror game, so you could play the same horror archetype of like the final girl, but you have very vastly different skills because of the ability trees that you get.
Yeah, okay.
And what was cool about Shiver when I spoke to Charlie Mendes, who is Primal Games, he said him and his brother Barney, they literally went through every single horror film they could think of. Obviously got here's the lead character. Oh, that's this archetype, and could create a character from any film as a result. And I quite like that. We talked about
have a separation of archetype and the character that you're playing as well.
So you would build your archetype, and then you could be like, the final girl, or the one with powers like 11 from Stranger Things, etc. But it would be quite flavoursome. But you could then,
really customise it.
Yeah, like video game wise, like Horizon or Fallout, you put certain points into stuff and really customise your character from there. Right. So I think customisation is becoming a big thing, obviously in D&D. So being able to do that, but also in a familiar way to those people who play video games.
Well, I was playing the Warhammer Rogue Trader game briefly, and that's based off the old Dark Heresy system. Back in the back of it, it's the TTRPG system at the back. Yeah. And then you've got the same for. And I think that's now the same in that Maledictum, Imperium Maledictum, because it is basic. And so that, though, you come with, like, I could be a Psyker or a Noble or those sorts of careers that you know from thing, but then you have archetypes underneath that, so you can be a magic user, but then you have archetypes that are based on, like, the skill trees that you'll gain, which are separate. So it is like a class, which is like soldier, commander, I think, or I can't remember the other ones. Or like it wasn't interrogator, it was like interceptor or something like that. So it's like, so you might be a magic user, but you could be a magic user that's like a battle mage, right? Which is or you could be a magic user who's like a commander, which means you are like you'll use your skills tactically to help address other people to do stuff whilst you're magically at the back doing stuff, right? So you can be more at the rear, or you could be an interceptor, which is like I'm a stealthy version of a magic user. So it kind of like those sort of. I know that they kind of do that in D&D by being like. You could be a rogue, and then you could be an arcane trickster rogue, can't you? And so it does work that way. But it's kind of it was a different the way you talked about it in that as well is that it's the reverse effect, isn't it? Whilst in D&D, it's like, well, we've got these set classes, and now we'll give you options within. We'll go down instead of it being like, okay, big move. Do you want to do magic? Do you want to be sneaky? Do you want to be this?
It's and then, much broader those archetypes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me as well, the other thing I always struggle on, this is combat. And I've gone through every kinds of different initiatives.
Yes.
Initiations. Lots of hazing in my games. But another game I looked through recently was called Agon, which is by Evil Hat Games, and it's supposed to be like ancient Greek myths. Firstly, the way they create adventures and stuff is very cool. Like you're always on a ship trying to get home, and here's an island, and obviously bad things are happening on the island. You got to sort it out. In combat. And this is very simplified down to the ones already, but essentially everyone just rolls once, and you go in order from lowest to highest, and that is combat. Because the first person will describe what they do, like, oh well, I whip with my great axis, and it builds up till the final person does the final finishing move, and that's the cinematic way of combat. And I'm sure there are other rounds and stuff like that. But I love that's the way you go in Initiative. It is worst to best, and doing that final thing and final killing move. Just because it's so cinematic and it's exciting because everyone wants to know where they come.
To it. I like that.
And then you can be very collaborative. With like, what that person is, I run up, I jump on their back, and I just leap across, and
that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that and to get more stuff on your rolls in that game as well. Is that you've got a long ass name, right? You'd be like, I don't know, Steve involve Five Guys, Burger King, and you're like, well, Burger King is relevant to this skill check, so you'd add like +1, and you use all your names, and you can get more names at the end. And I'm just like, I love that sort of
that's
stuff.
so cool.
That's how you get very specific, like.
Yeah.
And you probably get bad, negative ones as well.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously like famous. Because it's obviously Greek legend. So it's almost you're telling the story of like the Odyssey as a result.
That's so cool.
I just thought there's something about that combat, and then from that Trophy Dark and trophy games in general, which are published by the Gauntlet, grim dark.
Yeah.
The forest wants to kill you. Don't go in there.
Okay.
But, Trophy Dark and Trophy Gold, they have a very similar layout. That all their incursions, they're called. They have like the one page. Here's the room. Here's the sort of the map of where to go, and everything is just there in one. It's just really clear. So you'll have like, I'm gonna get this wrong now, but it's like elements, props, and treasure. And elements are stuff in the scene that, like, you come across. At the top you have like the aim of the scene. So like, you have to get to the top or something like that. And then you have moments. So it's like 3 things that will happen, regardless of what your characters do. So, a crow calls in the distance, the mist descends, or something like that. And then elements, I think, or properties, I can't remember, are things that they can interact with. And it's almost like a table. So you've got the first column or properties say there's a statue in the middle of the road that's pointing 2 ways. Traps, could be like, there's a creature hiding behind it, or there's a pit trap in front of it on the same line. And then treasure at the bottom of the pit trap is a bag of gold. And so as a result, you have this table. So you can easily go, in this bit, I've got the statue, there's a trap, and there's some treasure. And it's all just so easy to read. You don't have to read it in one big column.
That's a really good thing just to steal. I mean, that's great. I want
just
that.
a way to organise your thinking about how to do the just how to plan out an encounter that's just tables, just easy to read, and you can add your flavour to it.
Love tables.
I love tables.
We all love tables. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Talking about like combat and streamlining combat.
Are you all right for time, by the way?
Yeah, like 10 minutes.
Cool. Just make sure. I love talking to you. Just make sure.
10 minutes would be good.
Cool.
I like the because I read a lot about VTM recently from Warhammer stuff, and I was just interested in it. Their 3 and done is a really good way of, like, if you're trying to keep combat, so if you're not fans of combat, or but I don't know if 3 is the right, but 5 and done maybe is a way of like, okay,
in between,
wherever you feel comfortable with, but maybe make a decision at the beginning. And just be like, okay, we're going to go down. You're going to have 3 to 5 combat rounds.
Yeah.
Think about it. Whilst you're planning this out, think about the 5 things you want to do whilst you're preparing your first one, so that combat can be streamlined. You know you're not like saving things for later. You know, you're going to do this, and whatever the outcome is then, we will then narrative out your position at that point. So if you've done better than them, then you can narrate from now on how you finalise that. And you don't have to worry about your spell slots, I'd say, or something like that. You could just be like, okay, like obviously for the Vecna final fight, maybe you don't use this, but like if it's like you've got you're just fighting kobolds, maybe it's like 3 and done, and it's like, we'll see what we get to after 3 rounds. You're clearly outnumbering them.
You're going to outdo them.
They're done. Right, we'll cut there. You're done. So tell me how you finish this off, right?
Yeah.
You've killed 1 out of the 5 or something like that. The others are really low health. How do you do this sort of thing? And then maybe even like, okay, here's the Shadow Demon or something like that, right? And you've got this, and it's the second tier boss before you get to the final boss sort of thing. Okay, 5 and done on this one. See how well you're doing. Oh shit, you're looking a bit bad. Okay, at the moment, looks like you're failing this. I want you all to make me some death saving. I want you 2 to make me death saving rolls. See where you are. I want you then to make me some D20 rolls, and then like, do you get away, or do you have to escape, flee, or something like that? You know what I mean? With 2 of your party down, it's like, and just change it up, like to make it a bit quicker or something like that to get through it.
Yeah, because ultimately, like, if you want to have a really grindy, long combat, that is fine. But now we're in this age of digital. It's very easy to get distracted. I get distracted all the time, and it's can be quite hard if you're like me, having too many tabs open, just making it easy. And getting people on the same page. Like in person, it is fun. Like there is a well, I'm going to say their name wrong now, but it's a system called Good Bat Banwan, which is supposed to be like an RPG that is basically, you know, always like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons, and full combat, like, and it's incredibly detailed.
You talked about this before.
Yeah, I talked about it, and like for me, it was a bit too much. But I can imagine if you were in person playing it, you would have the best time, like, just working out all these things and just like going at it, and it's so cinematic. But online, absolutely impossible. I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
The final thing I was going to mention. Completely random. It is a 5th edition system.
Okay.
So there's a system called Pugmire.
Oh yeah.
And I might have told you about this before, but essentially, it is what if man's best friend became the adventurers.
Yeah.
And there's a whole history about like whether the dog adventurers they protect man, and he will be back for us because we are good boys. You know. You also have the expansion which is Monarchies of Mao, which is where you play cat people who do not give a shit about man. They're glad they're gone.
Surprise, surprise.
But they have this thing called the Fortune Pool, which essentially is just points that you can use at any point to get a skill check or get a bonus or something like that. And if you are playing Pugmire characters, so if you're dogs, you have to agree with everyone, ask permission to take from the bowl. If you are a cat playing for the Monkeys of Mao, you could take it without asking.
I love that.
And when I've run it for a group, and when you have players who are cats, they're like, this. But it makes me think of like pooled inspiration. You know, and being able to be like help people, like having a pool of like tokens, and a similar thing that you can have player intrusions, that sort of thing, and having GM tokens as well. If they do a cool thing like inspiration, we'll put it in the pool. That you could talk about it. Go because I've had inspiration
pools are good idea.
Because I feel like if you are someone who improvises quite a lot or is really into the role play, you maybe touch wood, you maybe get a lot of inspirations, but you might not use it. Just because like I've had it, you know, I hold on to it, and there's sometimes where I'm like, can I just give my inspiration to this guy because I like that. Because I'm very much.
I've let players do that and like. I think give them like half a roll for it as well.
I like for example, the one I always remember is I held on to inspiration right towards the end of our high level campaign, and the player who used Wish for something, and we got it perfect. And of course, they were rolling to see if they kept that spell, and they failed it, and they were like, "Fuck, we really need it." And I was like, can I give my inspiration? So he rolls again to see if he gets what, and he did. So then we had, I mean, it was beneficial for us. But I was like, I think this is important. And I want him to be able to use, because Wish is such a powerful spell.
It's so cool.
So I think pooled inspiration of some sort. I'd like to put that in. So.
That's really cool. That's maybe so then my final one then would be the thing that I liked from what I've talked about it before in the past, but probably not for a long time, was in the High Rollers version of Dragon Heist. Where what they had is, now that was linked to idle champions, and people could use idle champions and then give them 1d6s to put in a pool, and however many they got, they get in a pool. But I quite like the idea, if you're playing a silly game, fun game, and you just want it to be like, you're going to win, right? Is you just say, okay, there are, for every session, 20 d6s in the middle of this table. You can just take, or maybe 30, ghost, or they're d8s, or there's maybe 10 d6s, 10 d8s, and 10 d12s, right? And like, you can use those whenever you like for whatever role you want, So it's just like, okay, we want to do the, all right, I want to use, I'm terrible, I've got intelligence of like 10, but I want to use this spell or something like that. I'm just gonna bring the whole lot and just roll all of them, and get 48. Or I want to go stealth on your own, and like I want to get into the police station, get all the way in. You're like, I need to do a stealth roll. I'll take 2 d12s. I'll take 2 of the d8s, and I'll roll out with my d20. I got 60 stealth, and they're like, okay, you get it. Just to let them have like an auto. They can still fail because they can still
it could be
those,
really bad.
They can roll, all of those could be ones,
But there's also the risk. There's also the risk where they're like, this sounds important, and in your head it's like, it's so not important. But then you like do it, and then it comes down to like the final fight, and you only have 5.
That's it. You've used them up, and then you're saving them because it's kind of a fun mechanic. So I like that.
They pull just many dice.
Many dice pool just for like silly one shots, or or just if you're doing the Dragon Heist is a perfect example where it's like you want to be sort of Mission Impossible-ing it.
Very gamble style.
Exactly.
Push your luck.
Push your luck.
I'm a big fan pushing luck. Sorry, final. Also, pushing the roll.
Pushing the roll.
So that is again in Call of Cthulhu and many of the Year Zero entrances I did.
Blade Runner
it yet, where you roll your dice pool, and if you don't get any sixes, or no, you can get sixes, but if you want to any successes, sorry, and if you do get some successes, that's great, but like if you want to get some more, you push the roll, you roll dice that don't show successes, and depending on the system, you might get some stress, or you might get a condition or anything like that. But I love the idea of like you can always push the roll and you go, oh, I could take this negative right now. But
like you were talking about with the hit dice thing in the Witcher one, it could be just as simple as that. Like you push the roll, but you got to take a D4 of hit points.
Absolutely. So I'm big, and only being able to push it once, and on certain checks, like you don't do it on death saving throws, for example. No, but like I quite like that idea of being able to push it and push your luck and just be like. Because there was always, I remember like I went to see an actual play ages and ages ago in person, and there was a point where there was like a final bit of fight and they rolled badly, and the person, and I know it's related to Baldur's Gate 3 as well, it's like, hey, you know you're the luckiest person in the world, and you're like, I am, and you can see them debating about using the luck feat, and I was like, I like that idea, like I am the luckiest person in the world, I push my luck, I push the roll, you know, I love that. Fuck it, why not?
Yeah,
fuck it and find out.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. No, it's really good. Well, they're all very good ones.
Yeah, and obviously there's so much more we barely scratched. I know we talk about RPGs all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm
sure there's
going
to be loads out there, but I think it's also the point, the overall point is that like don't be afraid to do this.
Oh my god, yeah.
You know, like
do it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so good, and even just watching Too Long Didn't Read or watching actual plays of the game, you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, and just introducing it as one thing, just do it. It's
as I
so
said, great
easier.
artist deal.
Yes.
That's it. That's the reason it's in there.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Hamilton.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Yes.
Online. Probably in person. Where can we find you? What are you up to? What's going on, Uncle Hamilton?
As ever, doing Warhammer stuff on YouTube, on Fueled by Chaos. You can find me on there. Doing some kit bashing and stuff like that. I've also got something that is going to be very TTRPG related. I'm going to do as a preemptor before we do our role-playing game that we're going to be doing on there, Set in More Time, with Taylor as well, is I'm going to be doing a series of like, how can I play Warhammer in using other systems? Nice. So I've written the script for looking at War for Wolfram, looking at Morkborg, looking at Vampire the Masquerade, looking at Powered by the Apocalypse, and D&D, of course, because you can't ignore it.
That'd be really awkward if you...
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's the third one in the list, actually, so it's like, you get two that aren't, then it's like, okay,
I guess we'll get the elephant in the room, the big D, the big ampersand.
Yeah, the big ampersand, exactly. The sort of the big red dragon in the corner that no one's talking about. But yeah, other than that, not a lot else is going on at the moment. But what about yourself, Fiona? Where are you off to?
Whoa, look at that. Yes, my name is Fiona. I am an improviser and a role player and doing loads of this. Where am I going? That's a secret for you and me. But until then, you listen to What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast. Lots of interviews with game designers out just now. I'll hopefully get back into actual play soon. Just like once I've relocated probably on there, but we've got a couple more coming up in terms of interviews, and we're probably back to running some more games.
Exciting.
I have put in a game for Actual Play UK. I'm thinking of doing Dragonbane.
Cool.
Which I'm very excited about. So we'll see if that gets accepted. If not, it's not going to be in the podcast, whatever.
If it does get accepted, can I play a dunk?
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone's a mallard. Oops, all mallards.
Oops, all mallards, I think is.
You know what? That's a mistake. I think adding ducks to things.
Yes.
Slips and frogs. That's it. There you go.
It's a good win.
That's the other thing. But yeah, other than that, you see me around the internet. I'm around.
Yeah,
I'm doing lots of stuff.
Yeah.
If you type in Fiona Actual Play, I'm sure it will turn up. And that's not me being big-headed.
I'm sure you'll have like 15 pages of Google before you find anything that isn't about Fiona.
And thank God I needed that because there's some bad stuff in my past.
Is that why you're doing so prolific? Is to hide all the past?
Yeah, I'm being so obvious. That's why.
I'm so prolific on the internet so they can hide my past on the internet. I love it. That's great.
Until next time, folks. Thank you for joining this very weird live episode of Five Guys.
Yes. I've got a slight twist on our outro.
Okay.
See you. What should we say?
Oh, sorry.
See you on the flip side of the burger.
On the flip side of the burger? Okay, sorry, I didn't know where that was going. Because you flip the burger. Yeah, we're actually doing hand gestures.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll just leave it at that. We don't need that version. Yeah, I think we're done. Bye, everyone.
Bye.